We are going to talk about a movie.
This is gonna be a disaster.
It was one of the best movies of the year.
It's gonna go so well. Probably one of the last movies I would ever want to see in a theater.
Hello and welcome to 10 Years On. I am your host, Jacob Blunder, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Taylor Robinson. How are you? It's been a week.
Yeah, it's been... Yes, that's a word for it. I'm excited to talk about one movie this week, and then it can only get worse from there.
Yeah.
So, buckle in, folks. This is going to be a ride. That's all I can really say about it at this point.
It's going to be fun, I guess. I am also joined by my co-panelists, Nick and Peter. How are yous?
It's the ride you didn't want to take.
God bless anyone who watches these movies along with us, especially this week.
Yeah,
You're the real heroes, right?
We're here.
Yep.
We survived. It can only get better.
Look, the rest of 2010 is what we have to look forward to. We got to put up with this little speed bump, which is a huge speed bump in my opinion.
And right now it's like 2010, and the way that 2020 is actually panning out, who knows what's worse?
Yeah, so, let's get into episode 22, June 4th, 2010. We've got 4 widescreen movies this week.
Who thought that was a good idea?
So, let's kick off with the first of the bunch. A record company intern is hired to accommodate out-of-control British rock star Aldous Snow to a concert at LA's Greek Theatre. Directed by Nicholas Stoller and starring Jonah Hill and Russell Brand, this is Get Him to the Greek. What do you think of the poster, guys?
Yeah, I mean...
Sets up that Russell Brand is going to be wild and Jonah Hill is going to be
In over his head.
Yeah.
And,
What a wacky odd couple.
I love how it's using the Twitter emoji thing, like to the or going to, before we had them. Like it has
like,
the
oh,
arrow with
think about
the...
that,
ahead
yeah.
of its time.
I know, look at that. I think it's simple, but it's not bad.
Has this
Like-
pretty much been the only poster for this movie?
Yeah.
They've had like different edits of
But
it,
They've pretty much kept that.
I just remember
aesthetic,
this.
so
Yeah.
I think it doesn't need to be anything else. I don't know.
No, it works. It sums up. I think
it
them.
definitely is an example of some of the things we've talked about in previous weeks, where you can use a plain background if you use it well.
Yeah.
Like it can look fine if it's used the right way.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
sometimes people use it completely the wrong way.
Because I think if you went a white background, it wouldn't have the same effect.
Yeah.
And if they put like a photo of like the Greek theatre or something, there's too much going on with them that it would just become like you'd get lost.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and they didn't even use a solid color. They used like an ombre effect, like a gradient kind of effect, which
But you very much want to just like your eyes are drawn to both of them.
Yeah.
You're
Yes.
I like seeing that poster. I'd be like, oh, I want to see what. And also, if you don't know what Get Him to the Greek, if you didn't know it was a Greek theatre, you'd be like, oh, I want to know what.
And also, if you didn't know it was, it's for those of you who don't know, it's a spin-off from Forgetting Sarah Marshall, even though the movie doesn't ever really address, except for one moment, like it doesn't ever really
because you got
address
Jonah Hill
Marshall
playing
bit,
a
completely different character.
Which is I thought was hilarious. That's one of my favorite parts.
All right, let's start talking about Getting to the Greek. I had seen it. Did everyone have seen this already before?
yeah.
The first time I'd seen this was 10 years ago. I was meh on it last time, and I'm still kind of meh.
Yeah.
However, there are some genius moments in this movie. Absolutely incredibly funny moments, but the whole movie as a whole, I just think doesn't quite land for me. What about you?
You're bringing disgrace upon this house by saying things like that. It's not a perfect movie, but I think it's consistently funny. I think it does something that a lot of movies don't really do anymore, which is bring its own music into a movie instead of retooling someone else's music for a fictional band. So there's a great in-universe soundtrack that I think is perfect. And I think that
So many of
that
those
the
songs.
chemistry between all of the characters works really well.
Yes,
Without
yeah.
the chemistry between Russell Brand and Jonah Hill being what it is, this movie would be tough to get through. But they play well off of each other. You have a lot of names pop up in this movie.
Yeah.
Which
Stacked.
it's a stacked cast. And I just revisiting it, I don't think my opinion changed much, but I enjoyed it probably a lot more than you.
I'm
so
in the middle. Like I gave it 2.5. Like I was like, okay, it's a very middle of the road for me movie that I originally I actually gave it a negative review, but that third act is so strong and so awesome that it was like, nah, okay, that's almost enough to get it over the line for me. Like it's just so close.
Tough, Jacob.
The
I
long
know.
I'm
The critic.
comedy for me is hard because there is a lot of long, awkward comedy, and that is not my sense of humor at all. Like, and which makes the last 15 years of comedy for me really tough because that has been their brand of comedy. Like Nick Stoller and Judd Apatow, that's their brand of comedy.
Like that 2 hour plus.
yeah,
sort of
like,
it.
and-
But to be fair, this movie
flies.
Yeah,
I will give it that.
It
It's-
doesn't have that Apatow link.
Yeah, but it does have that really like I'm gonna make you uncomfortable, and that's not funny for me. Like it's just I've never found that to be very funny.
Do you mean also like uncomfortable in the sense of the way it goes dramatically as well? Like sort of it's putting you in sort of real situations that make you feel tense, or just gross humor?
No, I think a combination of the gross humor is not too bad in this one. I think it's more the joke ended. Oh, you're still
Right.
going.
It's not
Oh,
the
okay,
same
you're
as
still
well.
going.
Right,
You're
right.
still going. You're still going. Okay.
I feel like you're talking about a completely different movie.
That's fair.
I mean, to be fair, he doesn't like a lot of
Yeah.
comedies that most
Yeah.
people like, so
Yeah.
he's gonna be a little bit.
Poor Jacob.
Well,
I will-
I introduced him to 40-Year-Old Virgin, and he was not about
That's
it.
right.
I was
So-
more.
We
I
had a
was like,
conversation.
I was
I would be like, that movie.
That movie's fucking
Oh my
brilliant.
god.
So, but that's the kind
like,
of context you need
Yeah.
from where he's coming
That
from.
being said, Forgetting Sarah Marshall is one of the single greatest comedies ever made.
And I agree with
so,
that.
like,
Forgetting Sarah Marshall is my favorite
Okay,
romantic comedy ever made.
let's let the boys have some
Hey,
time
wait.
to talk
How you going?
about how they feel about it, and then we can dive into like specific
Okay.
scenes and stuff.
I saw this 10 years ago, and I really enjoyed it. And then I've probably only seen it maybe like 2 or 3 times since, but it's been a long time since I've watched it prior to the other week. And I was like, I don't know, it really held up. I don't think any of the jokes, they never felt like, oh, this is a 2010 joke. And all I want to say is, fuck me, Rose Byrne.
Funny. So
What I loved,
good in this movie.
that role was offered to Emily Blunt,
Oh.
who I would have loved to have seen.
Oh, that would have been
Brilliant.
so
I had
good.
no idea.
Because they offered it to Emily Blunt and she couldn't do it. And then when Rose Byrne was suggested, the directors were like, Rose Byrne, she's a dramatic actress. Like, she hadn't done comedy. They're like, why would you give that to her? And then she came in, nailed it, and like comedic gold that is Rose Byrne was born.
Oh my god.
But like,
she's amazing. in
from the
this movie.
get, like, she is the one thing that I remember from that movie, just being like, fuck, she's just so on.
Oh
And
God, yeah.
That
She
when she's just like
nails
5,
every
6, 7,
line.
8, feels great. I'm like, and she's just like, her delivery is great. Like,
Yeah.
her chemistry with Russell Brand, like how that really like, I fucking hate you, but I fucking love you.
That
And,
their reconciliation sex scene is some of the funniest
Um,
dialogue in the movie as well.
and Puff Daddy, Sean Combs, however you want to call him, he surprised me because
I feel like he's my favorite part.
And that
of the
could have
movie.
he could have been too much.
Yeah.
And like really laid on the.
I believe him
Yeah.
though, and I believe like I don't think Puff Daddy's a bad person in real life. 'Cause I don't know much about him, but I feel like he could be like that intensity in
I
real
think
life,
so.
and I kind of
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah,
That's-
yeah. And like Elizabeth Moss, just as like this, you know.
I mean-
and their relationship I thought was
Yeah.
really well handled.
That's
That's a relationship that's like that goes through all of its shit, and they say things that they don't mean, but it doesn't affect too much.
But you early on, you're shown the sort of dynamic they have to deal with is that he's working as a music producer or whatever throughout the day, and she's doing like long night shifts, so they don't actually get time to communicate with each other. And I think that was a smart way of doing it at the beginning. We're not throwing loads of exposition dialogue.
No,
we're
just
told,
that scene where she like he's getting out of bed, she's coming into bed, and she's like, "I got you the egg thingy, and I bit a bit of it. I love like," and she's just like,
and then he's like, do you, what music sound or what's nature sounds do you want? It's a
really
good dynamic,
natural little,
a really good way to introduce it.
And I love, like, since we're talking about that kind of part of the movie, I really love the scene where you have Nick Kroll and you have Aziz Ansari and you have Jake Johnson and
Ellie
you
Kemper,
have Nick Kroll having like a mental breakdown, and you have
He's
Jake
having
Johnson.
an anxiety attack right now.
One of my favorite moments is when he's like, "Please don't make me throw the phone." Throw the phone, and he just chucks it out of the room. Like that meeting
whole
to me
scene is brilliant. I love the meeting.
and I love that like then they play the horrible rap song, and it comes to all of their reactions. And Ellie Kemper's just like that typical like, white girl who's like. Like everyone's like everyone hates this song, but like we've got to be good for like it's so good.
I really like the first hour of this movie. I'm not a big fan of when it gets too dramatic. I don't think it's done poorly. I wasn't as interested in that as I was the funny stuff. It could have just been me, the mood I was watching it in. I've seen this movie multiple times. Since it's come out, I've probably seen it maybe 10 or 12 times because I love Forgetting Sarah Marshall, so I usually watch them back to back. And I think my main issue sort of stems from the relationship with his dad. I get what they're going for, but their climactic scene, I was like, I don't feel anything. Like, I don't get the drama here. But then that leads to an extremely hilarious comedic scene with Stroke the Furry Wall. So I feel like it's just a bit more disjointed in its final 40 minutes. And I think the ending ends well. Like, I like where it goes to. I'm just less interested in that 30-minute period than I am the first hour.
No, you go.
No, I think the way that I kind of perceive that, I guess, and why I don't have as much of an issue with how his dad is handled is because when you see him with his mom, it's very like... brush it off like we're not like it's very excuse me but it's very English where it's like we're not going to be emotional about this, we're not going to talk about this, like it's just hey dad, haven't seen you in fucking whenever.
So
like
years,
I love how he banters like how he's like how's my dad, how did you know that, just like oh shut up. And he's like, mummy, do you love me? I just want to say that off the fairy wall scene, I forgot, like I remember the fairy wall scene but I forgot how chaotic it was, and the girl that Jonah Hill hooks up with, and she's just like, and she's like got the dildo, and she's just really
that's right,
she's really just like, my name's Destiny, and I was like, it's just,
and she goes for
but
it.
it's like, it's one of those like it's in that typical like Apatow universe where they just grab. They get really great actors for like really tiny little things that don't have like their characters mean nothing in the grand scheme of things, but they just are able to say these lines and have these reactions that you just go, I want to watch you.
Yes.
Yeah.
You've captivated me in this should be throwaway scene.
Yeah. There are some things in this movie that work but probably shouldn't work, and one of my favorite things actually about the movie is the way that they open the movie, where they're like, we're gonna plunge you straight into the shoot of African Child.
I fucking love that.
The first thing we're gonna give you is the very inappropriate song, because you hear part of the song in the opening. But then you have Russell Brand's character, you have Aldous talking about it and what it means to the African community. And like I just love that right away they're like, this is what you're in for.
And how it was just like, my song was voted behind famine and war. It was the third worst thing to happen to Africa.
Which is brilliant because it's obviously so satirical, and it's, I don't know if it's pointing fun at anyone in particular, but I like to think it's pointing to a few people in particular. But the way they nail satire, even with that, but also with Rose Byrne's character and the sorts of songs she's singing, because it's obviously there's a very sexed up lyrics and things like that, and it's just perfect parody of like that sort of music culture. I feel like in 2010.
I think 2010, you'd say that would be like they're kind of going for like the Christinas and the Britneys and stuff who like their stuff was just like super over sexualized.
Yeah.
But I want to say Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears had better lyrics than that. So there you go. But
I love that Rose Burns finishes her first song. I can't remember what the song's called, but it's like I'm talking about my asshole. Like you didn't know what the song was.
Ring Around the Road, like my pose.
Yeah.
And it's all the old musicians in like sexy
Yeah,
clothes.
it was so good.
Like, I mean, like I would watch a whole movie about Jackie Q.
Oh God,
so
yeah.
good. I would
Oh
watch
my
that.
God, it'd be so good.
Yeah.
It'd be so good.
And they
Like-
do infuriating rock stars so well. Like you get so annoyed at because you're supposed to be on Jonah Hill's side for this movie. Like that's what the movie wants you. So they do infuriating rock star being like, oh mate, yeah, we'll get the plane, and then it's like, also we're gonna go to this bar for the next 6 hours,
But
and
I
then
know,
Jonah
I
Hill's
love-
just there like, we gotta fucking go.
I love when he's like drinking and he's like, just give me that and finish it. He's
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm gonna buy me smoke, and he's
Oh,
just like
before they go to the morning show,
yeah.
yeah.
And
And he's
him
fucked out of his mind.
and him sneezing and trying not to get the bag of cocaine out of his art. I was like, that was great. The
That whole how he's awkwardly on the plant, and he's just like hand down.
It's like-
There's
I'll be like, people would
there's a part at the morning show when they're trying to desperately find someone who knows
Oh
the
my
lyrics to the
God.
song because no one knows the lyrics to African Child. And they go up to the drummer, to the bongo guy,
fine.
and it's satire in itself because he's like, no, I know what I would get paid for, and I don't get paid to know the lyrics. I get paid to do the African face.
Bang the drum into
And I was like,
which is perfect.
It's-
Because I love that
It's-
they were
He does
going
it,
like they were going for the like. Is this racist to ask the black guy about the African
Yes.
child lines, and then for him to be like,
He's like, no,
I don't know, and then
He's
he's
like,
and then
I don't
he's-
care about this
yeah,
fucking song because
yeah.
it's shit.
But it's like I get money to do the African face, and like it's kind of like playing on that like
Yeah.
the people that you see
Yeah.
that you think are authentic, they're really not.
They're just-
you know?
yeah. It's
Like,
because it's an industry.
but that's what I mean. It's like meta on itself,
Yeah.
where you're like,
Oh, it's
Yeah.
written so well. The parody element's so good. And then they follow up the fact that no one knows African Child. They're like, let's do a song called The Clap. And then women and children and families are all singing us about the clap together and all know the words to the
which
clap.
is one of the most realistic things. Because as long as the song is on the radio and it's catchy,
Yeah,
People
like,
love it.
Actually, that's something that it was one thing that I noticed that I really thought was clever. Like at the beginning when what's the song?
Oh, let's get fucked up on the town.
And then when it cuts to the radio, it's saying
Let's
fun.
have fun.
And I'm
on
like,
the town.
that's really
That's
clever
well
because
done.
you'd have the radio edit.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really,
There's so
really
much happening in this
touch.
movie. It's so
Yeah.
good.
I do want to say. 'cause I
yes,
don't
we'll
wanna-
go back to your opinion now,
Well,
I
that's
guess.
right. You're here.
No, I want to. Okay, so I'm not the biggest fan of the first two acts. The third act at the fucking concert. That concert is amazing,
Oh,
and
God,
him coming out to singing still the. I didn't realize that I actually knew the lyrics to this song until it started playing, and then I'm like, no, to Going Up,
Oh,
like Going Up.
Oh,
When
yeah.
Going Up started, I was like, holy crap, I know the words to this song, and I loved
He
it.
actually was like, now I'm angry this didn't get a song nomination. Like retroactively, I'm angry that it didn't get.
But you know what? If this movie was released a few years later, it probably would have.
I believe that it would have.
Well, because that year there was only 4 nominees, so yeah.
One of my favorite other just little things toward the end of the show is when like he's basically bleeding out. And Jonah is like the only one that's like, maybe we shouldn't and the whole time he's apologizing and he's just like bleeding all over the place and like no one else is like paying any attention to the fact that he's like his arm is just fucked.
Then he makes him lick in the car
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
But I think that's it's kind of like a nice, well, not a nice, but like a commentary on how like, you know, you're surrounded by all of these yes people.
Yes men.
And then when something genuinely happens to you and you need help,
No
Yeah.
everyone
one's
kind of
there.
fucks off.
to
And like
be
Jonah
there.
Hill is like, I'm the one person that actually gives a shit about you.
Yeah.
You know, and I like that you can see that like even when Russell Brand's being outrageous and kind of giving Jonah Hill shit, you can see that Russell Brand is like, I know that you actually care about me and like me. Like you can see that he's like, I'm gonna push you, but I know that.
And
you
the movie
actually
deals
do.
with that, his inability to deal with that sort of thing as well,
Yeah.
which is it's definitely more layered than any other comedy
Well,
has been in a while.
and the other thing that kind of goes along with that is they didn't just take Elizabeth Moss character and make her the bitch.
No. Which is brilliant.
Because most movies...
but also,
It's such
she
an
has-
easy cop-out.
But also, she has plenty of reason to be.
Oh, yeah.
But I
Oh, yeah.
like that it's one of those things where, like, they're dynamic. She's just like, all right, like, you've fucked up. And, like, when they do, like, the threesome, and it's very
The
just like...
threesome is
and
one of the
how-
most
how she's just
awkward
like,
scenes
"No,
to watch."
We're going to do it. Because,
That's-
like... and,
You
like,
had your fun,
yeah,
and now
yeah.
I get to have mine.
And you're just like, oh, out of all this, like, you're like, oh,
The
a
actual-
threesome with Jonah Hill and Russell Brand, like, okay.
And the actual act of the threesome is so awkward to watch as well. It is just played out how I would imagine a threesome would
But
be.
that's the thing.
Between
that,
two people who kind of don't want to do it, but are just being like,
Well, but,
Yeah, one
but
of
that
these
part of the
people.
movie isn't glamorized at all.
No, fuck
like
no,
when the three of them are dealing with that situation, like to me that's probably on the more realistic
Realistic,
side,
yeah,
where it's
for
not
sure.
like she's like, oh, these two really hot chiseled men want to
Wanna-
both have
yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
it's not that.
And
it's
how, like, how Jonah Hill's just like, well, I'm going to kiss you and touch you. And Russell Brand's like, what, you know, and it's just like, hey, mate.
fucking brushing his teeth.
You're like, threesome rules.
and then he's over it, and then he just goes up and patches Russell Brand. It was so, and that's an example of a joke that I find that goes on a little bit too long, kind of funny, because that kiss goes on for like just a second too long, and it's great.
I do find what I think Nicholas Stowe as a director and writer does so well though is he puts his characters into a situation, and what I think his best movies are the situations that everyone can relate to. He actually does relatability comedy extremely well. Like Forgetting Sarah Marshall, that's a relatable comedy beyond all belief.
Yeah.
This one, not so much.
Wait, we haven't had an awkward threesome situation?
No, but I did.
No.
I did get to tour with Justin Bieber 10 years ago. Like, I had to go do that. So, I couldn't think of anyone at the top of my head, and I just.
But you know what? You'd be like, you know what? Could probably see that happening.
well, this is going way off the rails
this
now.
going off the rails.
Oh, you're right now.
Yeah.
Quick side note.
Yeah.
Well, I'll bring it back to the movie. When he's in the hotel room, there's a sport on the TV that I was captivated by, and it was old men rolling frisbees along the ground. And I had never seen this in my life before. And I want something like an ESPN 30 for 30 documentary about. It's literally a 2-second shot, and I don't know how it got my attention straight away. But there is a real sport out there. I looked it up where it is.
What's it called?
I can't remember. It's just like roller frisbee or something. It's some European sport. But I was like, I think that was an intentional joke in the movie. And I like when movies can pull off these small, as if you're not going to show like something just completely normal on the screen. It's for the people with the Dr. Cop-Out eyes who want to find out the...
Jesus Christ.
But have you, like, it's like 350-year-old overweight men in like cricket whites rolling a frisbee along the ground and then chasing after it.
It's like you in 30 years.
Legit, it's me now, to be totally honest. But that was just my little side note about my Dr. Cop-Out random fact of the week. That's a real sport.
Another quick, not a side note because it's part of the movie. I love that they reference Sarah Marshall and Kristen Bell's show is called Blind Medicine.
Yes.
And it's her and Rick showing up.
So
And you can see that when she looks at the camera, she is just like slightly
it's
off.
slightly off.
She's
It's the blind stare.
Oh. Anyway.
So that's Get Him to the Greek. I'm more on the fence, and you three are all completely and utterly in love with it.
Yeah. It's good.
Like, why not?
It's good.
I mean, it's not the best comedy I've ever seen, but I have a lot of fun with it. And the thing that really pushes it over the edge for me is the in-universe music.
Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah.
I wish we got more of that, where it was like, you're making up this fictional rock star. You have enough people in Hollywood that can write these songs for
Right.
you. Like,
You could probably hire actual like pop songwriters and just say this song isn't necessarily going to get like released, but it'll probably be seen by more
But-
people.
Popstar did it, and it worked really well.
well, and there are so many musicians you have already doing that.
Yeah.
Like, so many people
Yeah.
have written songs for so
For
many other
movies
people. Like,
as well. Yeah.
so I wish we would get more of that. But, stroke a furry wall, right?
Okay.
So, when your life gives you a Jeffrey,
All right, let's move on. All right. Well,
I'm fucking you right now.
hope you're wearing a condom because I got a dirty mind. Biggest Loser time. It's Daddy's favorite show.
All right, let's move on. Okay, so the fun has now ended because that's the good movie for the week.
Literally the only good movie for the week.
Let's move on to the next biggest movie of the week, Killers. A vacationing woman meets her ideal man, leading to a swift marriage. Back at home, however, their idealistic life is upset when they discover their neighbors could be assassins who have been contracted to kill the couple.
She looks like a Stepford wife.
Right,
Like a
yeah.
creepy Stepford wife that's going to kill you.
Also, massive spoiler.
Oh, yeah.
in that.
Yeah. And also, whoever put him in that suit needs to be fired.
Right, like
Sorry,
No.
that's not him.
no, like Ashton
not him.
Kutcher in that movie. Yeah, we get it. You worked out. You want to show that in every possible moment. So in that suit should be like clean.
It
To
should.
him.
And if it's not him, find someone that can
right.
wear a suit that like clings to them.
I am convinced that that's not actually
him at
him.
all.
That's just,
it's
yeah.
definitely not, but they could have at least tried a little bit harder.
You know what
Yeah.
I reckon? It was like it's probably Katherine Heigl.
Yeah, probably.
Her hands.
I thought you meant as Ashton Kutcher. I was like,
Her hands.
They're like, we're gonna put some
Yeah.
padding on you and then a suit and
Her
We need to fill out
hands
this
are
suit first.
very big. Her hands
Yeah.
are naturally big. But I wouldn't be surprised if she was like, I'll do this photo shoot, but not with Ashton Kutcher because I don't think they liked each other.
I was
Given
more
their
going to say,
chemistry.
I think he might have just been, I ain't going back in there with her.
Doing this.
so this poster, do you see how well that ties in? Shitty white background that we were just talking about.
Right.
That literally does nothing for this photo. This one, they should have had the background be something, not a color.
No,
It should have been something.
It should have it could have been like the suburban.
It could be
Right.
the house, yeah.
The house.
Like-
it could have been like Nice from the beginning.
Like,
Could have been anything.
it could have been anything.
Could
and
have been like.
is-
I have a feeling there's another poster where it's like the bottom is Nice in the boat, and then up the top it's like their two heads or something. Like I
Oh.
feel like there's another poster, and that poster kind of to me was like, that's selling it a bit more. But this is just this typical. This is like, oh, we'll do Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but like we'll do it terribly. That's
Yeah.
what that is.
I mean, you could have
The
this
movie as
one
well.
instead if you really want.
I mean, that's.
There's more happening
Yeah.
in that poster than
Like,
it
it's not good,
But it's
but
at
it's
least being like, oh,
they're using the space.
Yeah.
Like, at least
This fucking
that
movie.
poster is just.
It's
That doesn't
fucking
even really
shit.
look like Katherine Heigl, like in her face, really.
No.
Like, it's just really bad.
All
really,
right.
really bad.
Let's talk about
But
Killers.
but not the worst thing about this movie.
There's only one good thing about this movie. It's Tom Selleck's moustache.
This is true.
And Catherine-
And Catherine O'Hara, actually. So there's two. Wow, this movie just
There's
bumps
two
up
whole
half the
things.
stuff for me.
So, I know that like they're not supposed to know each other when they run into each other in this movie, but there is no chemistry throughout the entire movie, like at all. There's none. Like, it's really awkward and stilted when they meet each other, but in a way where it's like it's not the kind of awkward when you're meeting someone for the first time. It's like
Yeah, it's very just like we'll pretend this is awkward, but it's like
Really
like,
is.
like act like it's awkward, but it's
Yeah.
and like in the situation when she's walking and he's following her, I think a girl would be a bit like I'm a bit
Scared.
scared right now because this guy
Yeah.
has like
Even if they
followed
look like
me.
Ashton Kutcher.
yeah, like yeah, no,
Which isn't.
which isn't much, but
yeah, like
no, I
No.
like it's
No.
and the way they do it too when he finally catches up to her, it's just like it just feels like they needed to really quickly create a way for them to meet each other
yeah.
because they had the rest of the movie planned out.
And were they going? They were going to go two for as well because he was doing his mission or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh. Just,
Yeah.
It's like how much exposition can we give you? And I feel like they were trying to be smart. They're trying. We're going to show and not tell. And then it's like, well, I don't get what's supposed to be
And it's
happening
all
right now.
and like all the lines to allude like that where he's doing like the joke that he's like
Yeah.
a secret agent, but if I say a secret agent thing, she'll think I'm not. It's so forced and there's just so much about this movie that makes me want to fucking destroy things.
Yeah. No, it's just
And it's almost just like I feel like I just won't say anything because it's just too much bad stuff to say.
I hated this fucking movie. I
Yeah.
hated this fucking
Lead
movie.
us in gently, Jake.
This was The worst part about this week is that this is not the worst movie of the week, and I can't believe I had to say that.
Yeah.
Remember
Remember that good feeling when you watch Kills and thought it can't get any worse than this? Just wait.
Yeah, we watched this first on the hope that this would be so that was a mistake.
Yeah.
No, look, in all seriousness, they have no chemistry whatsoever.
It's so bad.
And most of the movie I have now forgotten.
Yeah.
And it just
Not shocked about that in any way, shape, or form. It was super forgettable.
And it's just one of those movies where it's like it plays on the coincidence of everything.
Oh my God,
like,
yes.
When you realize that everybody in their life has been put there, and what
literally everyone.
Yeah, but like what got me was like how they meet and then they're living in suburbia and she says something like, "It's been 3 years," and you go, "Oh, I didn't realize this movie had jumped 3 years."
It doesn't
like
tell
it should
you.
have at least had like a 3 years later because
Because this is the movie that can sort of get away with that.
because they
You're
just
kind
like
of expecting.
it's like they go on holidays, they fall in love,
do they?
and then they just
Well.
yeah, and then they move in together, and it feels like this has happened quickly, but you
Yeah.
realize it hasn't.
No.
So that way, when all of the friends that they are around, you like, have you guys only been around each other for the 3 years?
3 years.
Which you assume they have because Tom Selleck at the end is like, "I've planted everybody in your life," but they all act like they've
What a
known
review.
each other longer,
So much longer.
Like,
Yeah. It's
Well, one of my favorite things,
sarcasm.
maybe, about that whole sequence is they're in their house. They're like, oh, okay, so I guess they did end up together. Cool. We don't really know what the fuck has happened. Oh, honey, I have a surprise for you. Great, you're conveniently in just your bra while I give you this surprise.
oh yeah, fucking forgot about that. Oh.
What? And she's in like a business skirt too, so it's
Yeah.
not like
Doesn't he make
she's
a boob joke as well?
Yeah,
he does.
kisses-
Yeah, he
something.
does.
He kisses both of
them.
her breasts,
He
and
calls them
I
something.
clocked her face, and I was like, I don't think she liked that.
but like she was in like a business skirt.
Yeah, which was
So,
because
like-
if you're gonna wear that, you'd be tucking your shirt in, which means you shouldn't be walking around just in
Which,
your bra.
which I was like, if she's in her bra and underwear, like it's still
It makes a bit
It's
obnoxious,
gratuitous,
but like
it makes more sense.
maybe. But I was like, what is
Yeah.
like who like
Yeah.
Jacob will tell you, I don't just walk around in my underwear, much to his chagrin. I
Yeah.
do not do that. So like,
Good word. That's funny.
I can walk around in my underwear. As well.
so like, but it's just
It was a
one of
weird
those
moment.
things where you're
He
like,
didn't say no.
He didn't know.
well, this is going places that we're not going to be able to come back from pretty soon.
Patreon
So
exclusive.
Yeah, I was like, I've already got to work on Nick. I can't get used to it.
Too many converts.
so basically, it just doesn't make any sense.
No.
Makes no sense at all. Like,
yeah.
at least put her in a swimsuit or something. Like, at least try.
Like, here's
Yeah.
my thing. We were talking about how they had no chemistry. You know what? They can have no chemistry at the start in Nice. Fine, they've just met, whatever.
Yeah.
They've been married for 3 years. At least have chemistry then. Like,
That's another
just-
issue I have with this 3 years thing. Because one of my notes here, I really had to go off my notes because I really forgot a lot of this movie. There's notes here I'm really confused about. Yeah, it's like this movie doesn't feel like a movie. There's falling in love, like pre everyone trying to kill them, and then there's just everyone trying to kill them.
Yeah.
You know, and I was just like, how did we get here?
And the annoying thing about that is like, if those people were told to kill them, they wouldn't hang out with them for the long period of time. Like Rob Riggle wakes up and he's like, "Oh, I better get home," and then he's like, "I'm killing you, buddy."
Which I giggled at that line because
like-
of his
but like,
delivery.
what-
Like the way Rob Riggle says
But
things.
what you
makes me
would
laugh.
do is like, if you were at his house,
Yeah.
the moment you're in his house, you would just shoot him.
You've had
And
3 years to
you've
do
had
it.
like, I don't know
probably
that
shit
it's a
at your
case
job
of
if you
like
haven't.
they've waited 3 years
Yeah.
because he's got to like turn the sleeper.
That's
Well,
right.
so the reason, again, I can't believe it. I actually remembered this because this actually annoyed me, and I'll get to this because the plot for this movie is actually pretty interesting. Like, you could have interesting is not the right word, but it could have been in the
could have
better.
been.
It
The
could
idea,
have
the
been
concept.
the concept
idea,
is actually
yeah,
cool.
That like, this father has like basically orchestrated this woman's life.
Because of on the off chance
That-
that the person she fell in love with ends up going back to the assassin's life, he can then end him basically. What I get annoyed about is just the absolute terrible execution of it all. Because the reveal at the end when it's Tom Selleck as the quote-unquote bad guy, I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
But the whole time I would have been like, Tom Selleck, just fucking kill everybody. Just do it.
That's what he.
And like,
there for,
I'm like, I'm assuming Catherine O'Hara knows this because she has no reaction, and then the only reaction is like, we can't do this and bring in a baby, and she's just like, oh, I'm gonna be a grandma. Like, it was really like,
I think she was.
That's your big thing, right now.
I think she was toasted for most of this movie.
I think she was too,
which was amazing because she has the funniest moments and the funniest lines in the movie. But
she genuinely
Catherine
is
O'Hara,
just like
Catherine O'Hara's comedic style deserves a much better movie than this.
God, yes,
she is actually genuinely funny in this because you can tell how little she cares. She's just like
she's the drunk mum, and you just imagine she's like being like, I think there's a bit of method acting going on. And you drunk and you didn't care, and you probably don't really like Katherine Heigl because I don't think anybody fucking does.
What? We're going to Nice for a couple of weeks? Fucking sign the contract. Let's make a movie.
And the funny thing was, she said that all of the scenes Katherine Heigl filmed in Nice, she was jet lagged. Which I'm like, is this your reason for being like just fucking sour and like dead-eyed for the first part of that movie?
Oh man, this
I don't buy that as like an excuse because
no. And like I was like, also, how fucking unprofessional is that?
But that's what I mean. Like, if you're a professional, even if you're jet lagged as shit, you'll find a way
and
to
also, I'm
have
pretty
a coffee,
sure, and like
wake up.
Jet lag would last you a couple of days.
Yeah.
At the most. You were filming there for like weeks.
Yeah.
Like,
Jesus Christ.
I think that was I think this is very much the start of when Katherine Heigl was like the decline.
Well, she's got one more movie the next year or the year after, and that's Two for the Money or One for the Money or whatever.
Life as we know.
Oh, Life as we know it's the end of this year.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And then she did.
One for the Money,
and then
which
tanked.
And that was when pretty much Katherine Heigl as a box office star was done, because she like knocked up 27 Dresses, Ugly Truth, 3 back-to-back
hits,
successes, and she was 27 Dresses. I think she's like super charming.
Yeah, I like 27.
Ugly Truth. I think
it's really funny. I really like that movie. Yeah.
But this,
no, definitely not.
No.
But yeah, it's just a really badly made movie.
It's like, oh, let's do like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but just like
shit.
Well, let's try and make the comedic Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Yeah.
The problem they had is, okay, you've actually got to be funny when you do that.
And Mr. and Mrs. Smith was already pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think another thing that's really wrong with this movie is that it's actually filled with more action than I think the movie needs, but the action is really bland, really uninspired. The scene in the little back parking lot with the car, someone's shooting up the car as like a mini car chase, some shit, was awful. However, whenever that chick gets impaled by the antlers, I was like, fuck. I was like, this is not the movie for that, but I like that as a concept, but not in this movie.
But also, the way that I was like, that chick would absolutely beat the shit out of Ashton Kutcher.
Oh, God.
Well, one of my fundamental issues with this movie is that I don't believe Ashton Kutcher as that role. Like, I just don't believe it. Was he ever in a place in his career where that would be believable from what he's done? Because I can't think of any reason why he would have been cast as that.
No.
Like, unless it was supposed to be...
Go for like the bumbly normal guy.
Unless it was
if you're going to do that, then make him that, because they went for like...
The cool guy.
And sexy, and it didn't
Which didn't translate. And if they were trying to do more of like... I guess just because he's attractive and you want it to be like a romantic thing, but then why? Like, it just... Something didn't...
Yeah.
Something just went terribly wrong.
Yeah.
But that's Killers.
So go ahead and watch it, you guys, because it's really fun.
I am a dating robot.
I forgot that. Okay. So I actually wanted to like pull out my hair with that scene.
Sorry.
What note?
Like the SpongeBob meme, I've written English isn't my first language in the alternating caps and lowercase, and I can't remember why, but I must have been really angry because I was like, English isn't my first language, but I don't remember the scene, so.
It's probably the robot scene.
It's probably
Probably.
the same.
Oh, that
And it was
robot
just
scene.
like, but it was just like, you can tell that they thought.
No, do you know what it was?
This will be funny.
Do you know what that is from?
Yeah.
It was from Ashton Kutcher's character, and then he starts speaking Chinese.
Oh my god, that's right. He
forgot-
speaks fucking Mandarin.
When does he
in
speak
this
Mandarin?
movie.
I completely forgot.
I just remember
When
the
does he
scene
do?
now.
When does he do that?
It's like way later, it's like in the third act.
It's when
movie.
it's when like they're all in the room together after all the shooting has happened.
Oh, that's right. And then they're like, "What else haven't you told me?" He's like, "I speak Mandarin."
He's like,
I remember-
English
remember-
isn't my first language, and then he starts really like awkwardly speaking
That's
Mandarin.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
English isn't my first language.
Actually, yeah, that's like right.
You're
towards
you're
the
welcome,
end.
everybody.
Thank you for bringing that back.
Taylor saved the day, everyone.
So maybe go on YouTube and be like Ashton Kutcher speaking bad Chinese in.
It's
Killers
like
and-
so. It's like he's so wooden when he does it too that you're
He's
just.
trying to remember
That's it. It'd be like one of the
It's
things.
so-
He's like, I've learned this
the
phonetically. and I
one
have to say it."
in
It's-
Mandarin phrase.
Oof.
Also, what do we think of the moustache payoff at the end? With
Oh.
which is little pube lip.
Tom Selleck is the only man that can pull that off. Tom Selleck is sexy as fuck in this movie.
Fucking
I'll say
pube
it.
lips.
Oh, it's and it's not even funny. It's like the
not.
joke doesn't even.
Like it's one of those things that everyone like. You can imagine they were all meant to go ha ha, and he's come out and everyone's just gone oh.
Everyone's like, shut the fuck up, don't say anything.
And
We already convinced Ashley had to do this, and you didn't fucking say
Yeah,
anything.
the director and the writer would be like, "You're gonna pay up? I can't believe I got to do this."
Let's
So that was Killers.
let's leave this behind.
All right. So we just talked about Killers, which I didn't think anything could get any worse. Let's do it.
No.
We're talking Marmaduke.
Oh,
A suburban family moves to a new neighborhood with their large yet lovable Great Dane, who has a tendency to wreak havoc in his own oblivious way.
Can we just talk about the fucking 3 for 3 George Lopez is going for this year?
He has had a fire
he's-
year,
yeah,
straight
absolute
shooter.
fire.
How he did not like
Shoot into stardom.
right? Graduate to the
To the A-listers club after this year.
and I love that it's got Owen Wilson is Marmaduke and George Lopez. Just fucking
Just in
everybody.
case you didn't know. From
I-
Owen Wilson
Guys, if
perspective.
you didn't recognize his star power in Spy Next Door,
Then
and
not
you
like-
still didn't recognize it in Valentine's
Valentine's
Day, you're really in for
Like,
it.
then you don't deserve
Yeah.
Marmaduke.
Yeah, that's it. You know what? We didn't deserve George Lopez, so he was like, I'm going to deprive all of you.
So I
Some
didn't
white background, by the way.
So you know what?
like.
It's not a terrible poster.
It's not.
Like,
It's probably-
It,
suits the
okay, but the
movie.
dog looks faker in this poster
Oh,
than he does in the
in the
movie.
movie.
Yeah.
Like this looks like a look at his neck.
It's super,
Like,
and
it's-
like his mouth is like that's super droopy mouth.
Now, I just need to clarify. Marmaduke is not a thing here in Australia, like at all. I don't even know how big of a thing it is in America anymore, or if it was, but it is absolutely not a thing in Australia. So
No.
I get why this poster could maybe have worked of, hey, Marmaduke goes to California. Like,
Right.
like, because the glasses,
Yeah.
the pine trees, like, you know it's California.
the pine
So-
trees.
the palm trees. Sorry.
Don't worry,
It
this
is
movie made us all collectively
it
dumb.
really did.
Imagine that on the number did on me.
So I guess there is. I will give it that little bit.
Do you know what Marmaduke looks like? He looks like the uncle you don't talk to anyore's Facebook profile picture.
Yeah,
He's wearing glasses
basically.
he thinks are really
No, no,
cool. He's just got a
it's-
stern look on his
But
face.
you know what? It's like it's not actually your uncle. It's like your uncle.
the family.
Like oh,
Dad's
yes,
old school
like,
friend.
Yes, we
Yeah.
invited George. Just let him sit there. It's fine.
Cat's just vibing on
Tiffany,
top
stay
there.
away from him.
Yeah, so that uncle doesn't come to Christmas anymore.
So I put my review. I put one word. Oh, one line.
Oh,
Sorry.
is it rough?
No, my one line
No,
was
it's the same thing I put.
Lee Pace needs to fire his agent. How the hell?
I feel like a lot of actors in 2010 had to fire their agents.
I feel like they did because he
Yeah.
Not good. Like
he actually wasn't bad in the movie, but he had nothing to work
no,
with.
he tries. Like, he's trying.
He had nothing to
Same
work
with Judy Greer.
Yeah, they're both trying.
I want her to just
She's-
start being in.
At least she's got Archer. That's the
Yeah, I
that's my saving grace. I have her in Archer, so that's
She's
okay.
got Jurassic World money and Ant-Man money. She's fine.
This movie hurt to watch, and actually it's funny. We actually said this at the end of it, and I went, if a gun to your head right now, you have to watch one of these movies: Furry Vengeance or Marmaduke.
Dude.
Furry Vengeance.
Furry
easy.
Vengeance, take that every day.
Fairy Vengeance because it's just batshit insane.
Yeah.
Marmaduke is just like, this is boring.
Yeah, and that's its biggest problem. I was just sitting there going, I'm bored.
Yeah.
Like, I can't laugh at the
Marmaduke-
stupidity of it.
Marmaduke peaks early too. Like in that first 15 minutes, you're like,
Marmaduke gets to the anthill very soon.
it's like a comparative look. The rest of the movie, the best moments are in the beginning compared to the rest of the movie because like it's a lot more energetic in the beginning because it's doing its whole introduction. Then everything goes wrong. We have to go to California now, and that's like where the fun, in big quotation marks, ends. And
Can we
that's
just also talk about,
Oh,
we spoke about this, the beginning.
The beginning
Like, what the
means
fuck?
nothing to the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like, no, it focuses on the very tall kid who's meant to be an outcast. And I'm like, I'm sorry, a kid who is that tall would be like your basketball star. Like when he's not chosen for sport over the little like.
But they're playing basketball.
which is
Like,
even funnier.
Like you'd be like,
think.
absolutely this guy. But like they focus on him, and you've got Marmaduke's voiceover, and you
was
sort of
awesome.
think
Wow.
maybe this will be either like Marmaduke and this teenage boy who'll like
What a
meet
lovely
and,
story that could
like,
have been.
He'll bring him out of his shell or something weird. And then I thought maybe this is Lee Pace as a teenager.
Ah.
And meets Marmaduke.
And then
as a
suddenly
puppy.
he gets shorter as Lee Pace.
But like I don't know. But like the fact that they focused, like you think they're gonna like make this teenage boy a thing, and then literally they're just like, nah, Marmaduke, and he is never seen again.
Well,
God.
we were texting about it like halfway, when you were about halfway through,
and I was
and
just
I was like, spoiler alert, you never fucking see him again.
Oh man, I forgot that kid was in the beginning.
But like it's like they build this sort of like, oh, he's gonna be
Something.
someone, and you're like, why does Marmaduke give a shit about him?
No, he's just a nice dog.
This movie was a real tough movie to get through. Like, I genuinely was just like,
Like I
What the
was
hell?
like, that's what I said to you. I'm like, I was like, I don't want to watch this. Like, I
yeah.
don't want to invest
No.
100 minutes
Yeah.
of my life. And like, we've watched a lot of bad stuff, but this one, I was like, I just don't want to do it.
I had the same feeling. I had like an active
I was like,
dislike
I just-
before it, and I'd never seen this
Yeah,
before, and I
never
just had
seen
an
it.
active dislike to
And
wanting
like,
to watch this.
I can tell you, I don't know if they enjoyed it, but my dog was very attentive to it. Because so when we
Glued to the screen like there's fucking dogs in
No,
there.
that's it.
Save them.
We rescued our dog.
Adorable.
So she is not good with other dogs. So when we would watch a movie, like we watched
Yeah.
John Wick, and
Oh,
when the
no.
dog came on, she would like bark and jump up to the screen. So we were like, no,
Yeah.
you don't do that. And we've trained her to be good. So I put
You
Marmaduke.
said, don't get attached to that dog too
Yeah.
quick.
I put Marmaduke on, being like, all right, let's see,
This is the tester.
because this is
I like
literally
that.
just going to be animals. And she was in her bed, and I saw her go, and she just looked, and then went and got out of bed and sat sat at my feet and was just like, and I could see her eyes just like, and I'm like, I was like, this is so much more interesting than the movie.
And then if we got a furry vengeance speech bubble, it'd just be California love.
Or being like, who the fuck are all these bitches? So that was probably, I'll be like, you know what? that's the only part of joy I had. What knowing my dog
I
was
love that.
invested in that. I think it's great. I was like, oh, I wonder if she understands.
And your dog has watched it 40 times since.
Yeah, no, when we're not at home, she's watching Marmaduke with all of her friends.
And this is going to be the issue now, because then the studios are going to be like, wow, there's a real big invested interest in Marmaduke again. We should make this sequel.
Yeah, they've been like three households have streamed this movie recently. What is going on? Well, now we can actually do Marmaduke goes to California, Marmaduke goes to New York, Ernest goes to camp with Marmaduke.
This movie covers every animal related joke there ever could be as well. You got farts, you got hairballs, you got destroying the house, digging holes, and that's in the first 10 minutes of this movie. It uses every animal joke up real quick.
I felt really sad for Emma Stone.
Yeah.
I said that. I went, I know that voice.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's Emma Stone.
But also,
why is she in
also,
this?
it's Emma Stone before she was like.
Yeah.
Easy A was later in the year. That's
Yeah.
when it was like, okay, it's all good.
Yeah.
She was not the first choice. Amanda Seyfried was. And
She got her comeuppance with Scoob.
and Fergie, like our Fergalicious make the boys go loco crazy pop star Fergie, she's fucking awful.
Yeah.
And she's a voice.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Like, that's how bad she is. She can't voice act.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is not good in this at all. Like, even Keith Sullivan is like, he's got a voice that just sticks out. So you're like, it's Keith Sullivan. Like, and even Owen Wilson, like all the voices, they just stick out, and you're like, what?
But Owen Wilson wasn't as Owen Wilson-y as he usually is.
Yeah.
You know? And then you got like the Wayans brothers as the two little chihuahua
I
things.
remember reading that. Dear God. Dogs take mushrooms in this movie. Well, they take mushrooms and have house parties. Very California.
And I'm also like, as if no people in that neighborhood would be like, there's a loud party going on, and there's an awful lot of dogs running up there. Like, I don't know, that's like, if you think about it too hard, I'm like, it's all I've got because
There's nothing.
That's the thing. That's the
movie.
Like the thing. Like with Furry Vengeance, we could laugh at the absolute stupidity of it. Well, okay. Well, we laugh. Well, okay, but hey. You'll watch that over this again.
For sure.
Yeah, but a gun to our head in that situation is never going to happen.
Well, now you've said that. Next week's episode's going to get real interesting.
Yeah, this movie was really, really rough. And then the whole thing was
Ah, there it is.
out. That whole thing with Sam Elliott's dog.
Chipper dog.
Yeah,
Chipper dog
like-
rough. Was that it? Chipper dog.
Chupa.
Something.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be Chupacabra, but
I hate it. And then the ending. The third act where it's like, oh my God, he's going to drown, and
that's right.
the landslide,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Can we just talk about, as I mentioned this in the chat, they just put dogs on surfboards in like the middle of like the ocean with big waves, and I'm like, you mean the dog doesn't know how to surf? I thought that was...
it's California dogs, bro. They all know how to surf. It's a fact. One thing this movie got right. Going back to Lee Pace real quick. Now, we all know Lee Pace as one of the lesser Marvel villains. He didn't have a good run. I still think he had more charisma in both times he popped up as a Marvel villain than he did in this film. And that's saying a lot. I genuinely feel bad because when he popped up, I was like, oh, Lee Pace. And then I was like, oh, why? Why are you in this? Boy?
This was a paycheck movie.
this easily.
This is like Michael Caine being like, yep, Jaws 4 was crap, but it fucking built me a great house.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
This.
hope your house is good.
Man, I hate.
And it would not be a great kids film if it didn't end with a doggy dance number.
When that happened, I was just like, when that happened, I was like, I'm gonna kill Nick. I'm just gonna kill him.
With the dogs doing an incredibly animatronic style
what I
dance.
like about
What I like about you.
Yeah.
Wow.
What we like about you, Marmaduke, is nothing.
It's when the credits started rolling, and I went,
And you're like,
over.
I didn't get my like weird proper dance number.
You know what? That's one.
What, Nick? What?
The difference between that dance number and the one in Furry Vengeance
Oh, here we
is
go.
the fact about guns to my head. I'm talking about this. Is that Furry Vengeance is one that they definitely were like didn't know that they were in over their head, whereas Marmaduke, it felt like a necessity. They're like, we actually can't end this movie legally without
You're
this.
gonna win like a fucking like Pulitzer or Nobel Prize about like why we've all like been misinformed about how bad Furry Vengeance is. Like you're gonna like break it down.
I'm gonna have a 400-page essay on Furry Vengeance. I can't wait.
And Brendan Fraser will be like, thank you.
I might fucking write the sequel. Who knows? I've got a lot of time in quarantine.
What are you
Let's
gonna
get
call,
it.
what are you gonna call it?
Oh, don't know. I'll come back to that. We'll come back to that.
yeah.
I'll have it by the end of the episode.
Okay.
This movie cost $50 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was crazy was like the green screen was terrible
Awful.
because Lee Pace when he's driving in the car.
Oh, that's
like,
right.
That is like,
I forgot.
that's like what you do on a sitcom.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it was bad.
It was
Yep. Not good.
It was really
Didn't make
really
its money
bad.
back. At least domestically, it didn't.
No, I mean, this is a terrible, terrible, terrible movie. Please don't ever watch it if you haven't seen it, and it has not aged
just
at all in 10 years.
going through my notes.
Oh no.
The boyfriend
Oh God, I forgot about
in
that.
the fucking Billabong shirt at the end with the world's shortest sleeves because it's too long to be a singlet, but not long enough to be a t-shirt, and it was the most awkward. And the fact it was Billabong made me laugh so much because that's in Australia. Billabong is like a bogan brand. Like if you're caught wearing lots of Billabong, you're like, you live in the western suburbs.
So you're
like,
calling it a redneck brand.
Yes, redneck is bogan, I guess. So yeah, and the fact that that popped up was a good little giggle for me. Also, on a character I didn't care about.
You just grabbed the weirdest little thing.
I haven't seen. I swear to God, I don't watch the movies the same way you guys do.
Your fucking sleeves are too
This is why
short.
he's fucking Dr. Cop Out
That's what I'm
because
here for.
yep.
I also watched it at 6 a.m. in the morning, so I don't even know if I was awake for all of it. I woke up and Billabong shirts were on my screen.
So that's Marmaduke. Taylor, what did you think?
What really is there to add at this point, you know? Like, I felt bad for the entire cast while they were doing this. I was bored after about 5 minutes because I knew exactly what we were going to get out of this movie, which was basically no actual storyline after they moved to a different state.
No.
Like, there's really not much. You know, it's like, oh, he didn't care enough about what his family wanted. Oh, there's a reconciliation between Lee Pace and his dog. Oh.
The one thing I thought
Cool.
that they would do is they would actually move back. That was my one
Yeah.
thing. Is I thought, oh, okay, they'll move back and remember the beauty of living in a rural community or something. And then they didn't do that, which I was
No.
like, oh, okay, at least you didn't do that.
But-
Saving that for the sequel.
But it just, like, I was just so over it so fast.
Yeah.
Because there just wasn't, like, at least with Furry Vengeance, like we've all said, and some other movies that weren't great that we've seen this year, at least there were things where you're like, I can laugh at this movie,
Yeah.
even if I'm not laughing with it, or
And
I
the-
can
yeah.
find things to talk about.
There's like a fascination in how bad it is.
But,
Whereas
like-
this, as bad as it is, you're just like, it's
We
it's
don't-
just boring.
We don't have anything to talk about.
Like, no.
other than, you know, how tough it probably was for the actors to do this and how not great a lot of the voice cast it. Like, there's
Yeah,
just
like the stuff that we've
Yeah.
talked about
Like,
is
what-
all like little tiny things. It's not like we've got nothing to say about
Yeah.
the plot because it's like there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and like the whole thing with his boss, like fucking
oh my God, yeah.
like that whole
William
storyline.
H. Macy.
I know.
I forgot he was in
The
this.
whole
He seemed to
storyline
have
with
fun.
that led to the dog surfing and all that. I was just like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This movie defeated me. I'm exhausted right now.
Well, we've got one last movie, so let's move on to our last film. We got through there,
All
guys.
right, let's do this last one.
Splice.
Wow.
Genetic engineers Clive and Elsa hope to achieve fame by successfully splicing together the DNA of different animals to create a new hybrid animals for medical use.
I was like, oh, that's like that thing. It's like, oh, he said the title. He said the title.
Well, this is creepy as fuck.
creepy.
Yeah.
It's a cool poster. It's a cool poster.
It's
Like-
like, hey, remember how sexy and weird Species was? Let's do that.
Let's do it again, yeah.
I just want to start this off by saying they could have done a lot worse with this poster.
Absolutely.
Like, it's giving you the intrigue.
Yeah.
It's creeping you out a little bit.
Because you can
It's-
see, like, you're like, okay, like, I can see that she's pretty, but you're like, but I also know that her face is not quite what it should
human.
be. And then you're like, and then there's the tail. You're like, okay, like, it does.
Like, what-
and the title they've chosen, Splice, like,
Yeah.
it tells you a lot without
Yeah.
really needing to say a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really have any complaint. I kind of like the glow that's around her as well.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
it. It's like
It-
it's a plain
like a
background,
backlight,
but
yeah.
it's not boring.
This is,
yeah.
guys, we didn't even plan this, but this has been a great course study of, like, good plain background, bad plain background. Like, here's the difference.
Take note. Photoshop
10 years
people.
ago.
Yeah.
But no, I don't. I think this tells you everything you need to know and still leaves you with enough intrigue
Yeah.
to be effective. So I
Yeah.
don't really have any.
Yeah.
I don't really have any problems
No,
with
like,
this.
I don't really have any problems with the poster.
No, and it's like about the poster, and then how we're saying it's like it sets up the intrigue, and I'm like, the intrigue of the plot is great. It's just it's not executed at
Yeah.
all that well.
All right, let's move on to Splice. I was not a fan of this film at all. I think there is a lot that it does well in terms. Well, I think there's a lot of ideas that it has that it
Yeah.
wants to talk about, but it just doesn't ever execute any of those, and is quite boring. Like, and that was the thing that shocked me about just about the film in general, is just how dull and predictable and slow and boring the filmmaking was. That was my big thing and
Like,
big takeaway around
For a
from the film.
movie that this premise could be like super fucked up, and it could go into this like it could do like the Species route where it's just like like over the top violent nudity and sex. Like this could have been like a good B grade gratuitous horror movie, and I think the ending of the movie
Like teeters on that.
takes on that when the character Dren changes her own sex,
Yeah.
and then like becomes quite assaulty.
Yes.
Well, I didn't
Yeah.
want to say the other word.
Yes, I know. Yes,
Um,
I'm picking up.
And yeah, and I think that's where I was like, that's what this movie I think should have been, because it might have been trashy, but hey, it would have been.
It's
would have been
going
entertaining.
so hard into its premise though that it makes
Yeah.
it more intriguing
Like it's
than
trying to be
the
it's-
science
It think
best
I
we've
think
got.
it thinks it's a lot more clever than it is.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a tough time with this movie because I liked where it started, and I liked the setup they were giving us, and I think that this movie in particular is a testament to how great Adrian Brody is, even when he's in a really shit movie. Like, he is always on.
He's
and
believable in
He's
this movie.
very on in
Yeah.
this movie, and
Yeah.
he's great. And then it just keeps setting up the movie,
Yeah.
and keeps setting up
That's
the
it. Yeah.
movie, and keeps setting up the movie, and then
Yeah.
it just
It ebbs and flows so much. It spikes your intrigue and then takes it all away by slowing it down, and
Yeah.
then spikes it again, then takes it all
Yeah,
away by
it's
slowing
like
it
the
down.
like she does something that's wrong,
Yeah.
and then you go,
Let's explore this.
and then it just like they reprimand it, and she, like,
Yeah, they're like,
it's-
bad Dren, and then they're like, we need to find out why she did this. It's like, well, no, let's explore this more.
Yeah.
Like, give her, like, not for the sake of, like, the actual story, but for the movie, give her a bit more free reign. Like, let her do some more fucked up things.
And I think when you realize that Sarah Polly's character like used her own
Yeah.
DNA to make this
Which is a cool
hybrid, I was like,
addition to the
that's super interesting, because then you could have some really like fucked up duality with
Especially
that. And they just,
considering, like, that's something that, like, morality-wise could have been explored so much better, especially after Adrian Brody has sex with Dren, which is a gross scene in general.
Yeah.
But like those two elements don't ever come together. There's no fact of like, yeah, well, it's basically our daughter to an extent, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it doesn't play on morality well, and it feels like it's just doing fucked up things for the sake of being fucked up. And that's annoying, because like I don't mind fucked up movies. Like, I think some of the more intriguing things is when people push barriers like that. but there's no backing to it, the things it does in this movie.
I think it's like
it's
if
annoying.
it's being fucked up for the sake of being fucked up, but then also they don't commit to like just go completely fucked up.
Yeah.
Like go like even
make
if
it gross.
Yeah,
make it
even if it makes people, if
repulsive,
it's gross, even if it makes people angry, I'm like at least you get a reaction out of someone.
It's
Well,
divisive in a better way then.
Yeah.
Well, I was wanting it to get to a point where I was actually like scared or like
Disturbed
just
or
something other than like, okay, I see that they're like pushing science and it's not exactly going how they want it to, but it just never quite.
Which is an awesome concept. Like that's a cool thing, like to realize
Yeah.
that humans actually don't know everything
Like
and we
this-
make mistakes.
The scene where the two little creatures have one of them, the female has transformed into a male.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
Duke it out.
Yeah.
And the characters kill it, and I was like,
Yeah, like
cool.
And
that's-
it's fucking explode
bloody
onto
blood,
everyone
yeah.
in that crowd. That's a cool
And then
moment.
you think from here on, surely, and then it just kind of
Yeah,
But
and then
that-
it just.
Like the problem this film had for me is that there are two films here. There's the gory horror film that it wants to, but then there's also the drama's not the right word.
It's
but
like an art house science fiction.
Yeah, like there's that which is about the exploration of what's the ethics, what's the moral dilemmas of splicing DNA, and it's like you can't do both.
Yeah.
You needed to pick
you needed
one,
to pick
and
one.
it doesn't pick one, and that to me comes down to the filmmaking, and I think that's also why I don't think so. I think Sarah Polley is actually quite bad in this film, but
she
don't.
wasn't anything. Yeah.
But I don't think it's her fault. I think it's the fault of it's the filmmakers not quite knowing what film they wanted.
Because I think she's a good actress.
good actress.
Yeah, I mean she's an Oscar nominee, for writing, but still she's an Oscar
she's done
nominee.
Alias Grace. I didn't realize
Yeah,
she wrote
she's-
that too.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
She hasn't acted in a while.
I
though,
just
yeah.
the way that their relationship and the way that she's written in the beginning of the movie really irritates me because it's believable that scientists can get swept up in the things that they're doing, but she's just making deliberately dumb decisions.
Yeah, especially for someone who's like, you've been doing this for a while.
And
And it's not just one thing.
Yeah.
no,
Like where you're like, okay, they get swept up in this, that happened. They just
Yeah.
like made her do all of these consistently
bad
dumb things.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah, and you can't latch onto a character because then you as the audience are like, well, you're purposely fucking this up. Like,
Yeah.
like if you die,
that's on you.
Like-
It's fucking on you.
Yeah, we can't be like sad about it because I'm like, it's kind of like, oh, you mean she stood in front of the bus and then got hit? Why?
where at least with Adrian Brody, like from the beginning, he's pretty like,
He's like, I don't know.
maybe
about
we don't know
this.
if we should
Like,
do this.
Like
Yeah.
a really interesting scene that I don't think the film plays enough on is when he tries to drown Dren.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that first moment.
Yeah, but I like that how it's left. I mean, it's kind of like you assume he wanted to kill her.
Yeah.
But I like that it's ambiguous that
Yeah.
she's like, how did you know? And you maybe think maybe he did know. And
Yeah.
this was his way of being like, we need this next bit of evolution. You know, this is what's going to work. But I like that it was very much like, I think he tried to kill her.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, but I wish the film played more with that. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't quite know what it wants to be, and so it doesn't do. It goes in. It doesn't ever find its identity, and that's its problem.
And with a story where if it did go down that avenue a bit more, because then you get more conflict than what we got between Adrian Brody and Sarah Polley, because there's really not. There's conflict and they argue about things, but you never really feel like they're at each other until the sex scene, which is then like, oh, there's only 20 minutes of this movie.
But even like the sex scene is kind of like she doesn't have the biggest reaction to it, and you kind of like,
Yeah,
really? Because
she's
your
just
boyfriend's just
standing
had
there.
sex with your weird child
your splice child,
splice hybrid
your
thing.
splice girl.
Hey.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I worked on that one real hard. Also, the name of my furry vengeance sequel. No, I'm kidding.
I get this is just a film that just doesn't work for me at all. Like there's interesting ideas, but it doesn't pull it
And
off
like,
at all.
I'm guessing we all knew at the end that she was going to stand up and be pregnant.
Oh yeah.
God,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which sucks as well. We're saying all these things about this movie because the set and production design is quite good. Like the actual science lab they're in is pretty good. Some of the equipment they use. The
effects,
CGI
the
is
CGI
pretty
is
good
pretty
for
good.
what would be a lot.
Yeah.
Especially because I read for I can't pronounce the actress's name.
Delphine.
Delphine. they CGI'd her legs, so she's walking on just with green screen,
Like
green
on,
cast
like,
on her
stilts
legs.
or something
Yeah, on
to
like little
make it-
stilts.
yeah.
But there was not really a time I looked at the legs and I was like, this looks really good.
And also,
so obviously
like, her-
money went into it.
And also, like, the
They-
way
yeah,
that
they
the way that
digitally
they like
split her
digitally
eyes.
split her face and stuff.
So it was her eyes, they just digitally moved them. So
Yeah.
obviously some money went into it to make it look good. It's just, unfortunately, and one of my favorite moments, ironically favorite moments, is when they're initially doing a lot of the testing and it's edited together like a early 2000s action movie where it's like quick cuts, loud music, and it's like, and I just laughed at that because I was like, this doesn't match the movie at all.
I was actually like having a little bit of trouble getting through a lot of the movie just because like the sounds were making me sick. Like the
Okay,
sounds that like the weird like shrieking that
It
she
is-
was doing
yeah.
was kind of giving
She
me a
does
headache.
and then it just got annoying towards
Yeah.
the end when she kept being like. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like it just like I get that that's she's confused and she's like I don't. But after
just
a while,
funny
I was
watching
kind
you
of
do
like,
it.
you just need to.
It was like legitimately like making me feel like
Yeah.
sick after a while, and I was like,
Yeah.
Also, Adrian Brody rocking that vest over t-shirt action for most of the film. Like, that didn't leave the early
That's Nick's
2000s.
gay
either.
comment for the week.
It's my odd observation and my gay comment. We're going 2 for 1 on this one. Very, very efficient today.
So that's Splice, guys. More so, just I'm gonna leave it.
Pass it. Hey, I don't think it's worth watching, to be honest.
I mean-
it has a cult following, though. I read. I'm like,
Yeah,
there's
it's
a
got a-
huge
I
following.
think, and
for
I
this
think
movie.
apparently it's one of those movies that's like it's become like people have discovered it later, and it's kind of become this thing.
critically
but-
not panned either.
No, like
No, it's critically, like,
Did
yeah.
really well when it premiered at whatever film festival.
Yeah.
I think maybe because it was like like it wasn't the but
Who knows?
yeah.
All right, let's move on to the weekend box office. Number 1, we have Shrek Forever After with $25.4 million. Get Him to the Greek with 17.5. Killers with 15.8 million. Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time with 14 million. Sex and the City 2 with 12.3 million. Marmaduke with 11.59 million. Iron Man 2 with 7.9 million. Splice with 7.38 million. Robin Hood with 5.36 million. And Letters to Juliet with 3.03
That is
million.
a stacked top 10.
How
Yeah.
good is the fact that you have 4 movies open this week and you can't beat Shrek Forever After?
In its third week. Dropped from last week, we have Date Night dropped from 8th, Just Right dropped from 7th, How to Train Your Dragon dropped from 10th, and this is going to hurt, but I had to put this in. MacGruber dropped from 9th to 32nd to make 99k. It was a 93.7% drop
I think
because something like I didn't look at the exact number, but I think 96% of theaters dropped it.
And I think after like 3 weeks, it was then like they just pulled just pulled because they saw that. I remember like it's weird like I get that it didn't make much money in its opening weekend, but you sort of think pulling it from that many theaters is kind of like of course it's gonna.
The reason is because it actually then becomes up to the theaters because it's their choice, and so you get 2. So you get 2 weeks. So it's pretty much every film contracted has 2 weeks that they have to play.
Yeah.
And then after those 2 weeks, it's up to the theater. The theater can go, nah, this isn't making us enough money. We need to put other stuff in. When you've got 4 films opening, you've only got a limited amount of theaters.
Yeah.
I get it.
It still hurts though.
Yeah. All right. In major movie news, we've got a pretty stacked week. Number 1, Daniel Craig is in talks to join The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Ooh.
Yep. Jeremy Renner
turns out well.
officially signs on to the Avengers. So that's his first one. He has officially signed on to the Avengers. He hasn't signed on to Thor yet.
Yeah, to do his little
little cameo.
Little cameo, right?
The Pixar film Newt is officially cancelled. It had previously been slated for 2012, however, was removed from the schedule to make room for Brave and Monsters University. To this day, it's never been reignited. It's
Yeah,
always
I
still.
do remember
Sorry,
this.
a lot of it was then incorporated into Good Dinosaur.
Good Dinosaur,
So
yeah.
a lot of it did become the Good Dinosaur, but yeah. And lastly, Guillermo del Toro leaves The Hobbit. He officially leaves it.
This is
This is a shitty
huge.
week. This is a shitty week.
Well,
like
I
4,
mean-
like 3 bad movies and just bad movie news.
But, well, Daniel Craig.
Well, Daniel Craig and Jeremy Renner.
And Jeremy
yeah,
Renner.
but
you know.
The only film Pixar have ever cancelled as well. Like, they've never cancelled any other film. This is the only one they've ever cancelled. And yeah, Del Toro leaves The Hobbit. So
What we could have had, right, boys?
Oh, man.
like,
Oh, yeah.
I am not the greatest fan of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but The Hobbit was like,
Yeah.
yeah, that was rough. And
I mean, I'm not the biggest, like, I appreciate Lord of the Rings for what it is.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of great in those movies. We went to a movie theater and did a marathon of all the extended editions recently.
Yeah.
And on the big screen, that's the first time I've ever seen any of them on a big screen. So I appreciated the
yeah.
experience. It's a beautiful movie. But, like, I don't ever want to watch them again for, like, 10 more years.
I'm the same.
And
I don't have the desire
I just don't
to.
have the emotional
Yeah.
thing.
No, that's fair.
And then The Hobbit came out, and I was like, look, you took one book that I
Yeah.
read in 4th grade
Took a book that was
that is this big and made it into 3 movies,
well, at this
And-
point,
Let's
it's
do
still
2
only
movies.
2. At this point, it's still 2.
which I think you maybe could have gotten away with.
Yeah.
But 3,
But New Line were like,
Like-
we like money.
and also like, and they filmed it in the super.
Yeah, the
well,
the HDR.
48, yeah,
and
48
it was
frames.
like- a second.
And it made it look so fake. Like
Even-
it was really hard to watch.
Even worse, you advertise that you're doing this like high definition, high frame rate, and then you put a scene with GoPros in the barrel, and it looks fucking awful.
Yeah.
I hate. I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan, and then like the
See,
Hobbit. I like the first Hobbit.
I'm the opposite. I hate the first one. Hate the. Oh, okay. I don't like the first one. Hate the third one.
Yeah,
Really
like
enjoy the second.
Second one is the best.
Second one's fun.
But the third one is tough to watch because it's ultimately just the end of Return of the King for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Very little recollection of the movies. Luke, Luke Evans is in there.
He's in the
He's
second and the
definitely-
third.
yep.
That's pretty much
Yep.
it. That's where I'm going.
the only thing, to me, like one of the only good things that came out of those movies is how freaking majestic Lee Pace is as the elf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Smooth boy.
he was like, oh, so the elves are like really like beautiful and ethereal and like glamorous.
That's highly.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm about to turn this up to like 12. like he is beautiful in those movies.
Yeah.
Fucking
It's-
Lynch show
It's
today.
like, no, but it's almost just like someone was just like, did they just turn like Kate Blanchett into a man? Because
Basically,
yeah,
he's,
true.
like,
he's-
he's really pretty.
He is, and I was just like, I'm a little bit offended, to be honest,
Yeah.
by how great that is. And that to me, that's like the greatest gift we received out of those movies was the footage and the pictures of him looking
Yeah.
like an Elven king.
But
Best thing ever.
yeah, I don't remember much.
Yeah,
else.
that's about it.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Like, yeah, sorry, Hobbit fans, but
I mean, even
even
most people who love
like,
Lord of the
they're
Rings are
already
not super
yeah.
stoked by.
yeah,
but
but
huge on the Hobbit.
a Guillermo del Toro.
I know,
Hobbit
I know.
Would have been,
I know.
yeah, would have been something.
Will forever be bitter about
Yeah.
Well,
that.
the rest of this year is basically droplets of Hobbit news just coming every now and
I'm
then.
down
so,
for
yeah, there's
Well,
quite
and then it'll just be us going, remember how beautiful Lee Pace
Yeah. Be like, and now
Oh,
You guys are getting a
And-
lot of spin-off shows right now about.
oh.
we can thirst watch the Hobbit series.
Oh, I mean, you give me Luke Evans and I'll be like, where's my glass? Jesus.
All right. Lastly, in Australian
Plays
release
for my team,
dates,
too, it's
in Australian release dates, we actually get a whole bunch of movies that had been out for a while. We get Sex and the City 2,
great. Yeah.
Exit Through the Gift Shop.
Oh,
There's
that's puppy.
so Animal Kingdom. Animal Kingdom officially opens in Australia.
Yeah,
We're going to be
nice.
talking about it in August when the US get it. So
wait. It's
that
so
one I'm
good.
looking forward to talking. But the big one, Australia finally gets Legion.
Oh my god.
You know what?
Legion was like a
January.
Was that January.
Yeah.
Well, of course it's January. It's dog shit. Yeah. Wow.
So yeah,
Wow.
we finally got
I
Legion.
100% guarantee that movie was pirated so much by the 10 people who wanted to really watch it when
And
it
I'm
was
pretty
released
sure.
in
And I'm
January.
pretty sure So what was it? Exit Through the Gift Shop. I did not bother with.
Yeah.
Sex and the City 2, I would have seen on opening night.
Yep.
Legion, I would have seen on opening weekend. And what was the other
Animal
one?
Kingdom.
Animal Kingdom, I didn't see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have seen since?
No.
No.
Oh,
Wait,
wait.
it's the one movie.
No one else has seen Animal Kingdom. Oh, guys, that movie's fucking sick.
I've heard
yeah.
everyone talk.
And I don't know why I never have.
It's one of the best
But-
Australian films ever made.
And I'm assuming
That's
it's the
a
one
guarantee.
good thing that Jackie Weaver's done.
I like her in
She's-
Silver Linings Playbook.
She's brilliant.
She
in
did
Animal
not deserve an Oscar nomination.
I will give you that. Definitely did not deserve that, but
Yeah.
I was always waiting for that scene, like for the scene
I was
that,
waiting for
like
the scene
when
too,
it was,
and
yeah,
it's
it's like,
like,
oh,
okay.
guys, that's this week's episode. This was wow. This is a long one. We got through it.
This is a bit of an angry episode.
Yeah.
It started off real
I'm a little
well.
bit I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit.
Yeah.
So like, just think of it as like, get into the Greek, and hey, just go look up pictures of Lee Pace and The Hobbit, you guys.
Exactly.
God.
Exactly.
Yeah, guys, we apologize for this week's episode for
What,
being a little bit angry.
what do the viewers have to look forward to next week?
Tell
we
us,
should
Jacob,
be
tell
better.
us.
Next week should be better because we've already watched one of them and it's so much fun. We have the A-Team Karate Kid, the 2010 remake of the Karate Kid with Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan, and the Jennifer Lawrence debut film, I guess, in Winter's Bone.
That was the fun one you watched, right?
Yeah, that was fun one.
Yeah. We had a great time.
I mean, like skins a rabbit. So much fun.
So guys, that's this week's episode. Thank you so much for checking out this week and hanging out and putting up with us getting very angry at very terrible
And
kids
probably
movies.
you probably didn't watch those movies. And you know what? Bravo.
You know what? You made a very
Made a better
intelligent
choice than
decision. Guys, if you want, you can see in the description down below all of the links through to our audio versions of this show, to all of our Patreon, our Streamlabs. If you want to be able to donate to the channel, that would be absolutely fantastic and we would very much appreciate it. You can also find all of our links to all of our social media sites in various locations down in the description below. Until then, I want to thank my panelists, Nick and Peter. Thank you so much.
Oh my God, you're
Thank
so
you for having us.
welcome.
And until then, guys, we shall see you next week.